Going live. Got it. It really is nice to have more hands on deck at services, isn't it?
Well, Larry was saying yesterday, it was just me and him, and he's
Yeah.
like, you know, what a mess, files everywhere and everything. But you guys are busy enough that you could.
Soon, right? Yeah. Right. The other for another service. A lot of grades. Yes. But you're here, right? Not an early bird. Stay up late. Thank you. It does, right there. 2020.
Christmas Day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, what's the sun's
The
name?
Great
Magician in the
Yes.
World. This is it's Stein.
Where's David?
He is.
I talked to him on the phone.
He's over there. Hugging people.
Oh, okay. I talked to him on the phone. He got the phone. Because I said the magician.
You did this.
And they said, your uncles. I show everybody your uncles.
The 100.
Oh, wait.
Her lessons.
Oh,
That she
okay.
did her lessons.
So, yes, they must be sisters.
Yeah.
Susan.
That would make sense.
She makes like
Hello. Somewhere in between. I think we're gonna watch. Maybe. Would you like? Thank you. Quick, you hanging in? Oh, I see.
And everybody who asks to be a pallbearer who would like to be a pallbearer, please meet me at the back of the rainbow coach.
There's a camera. This, well, that's a camera. Oh, I didn't know.
Tami before my set, me on my low my tasa. Hati kata Adonai, lehami lehekayo. Asher liadaka kitamo. Hello and welcome. To those of you that are standing on this side, the speaker in this podium, I think, faces this way. Turn it on. The speaker in this podium is going to face this way, so you might have an easier time hearing if you move a little bit that way, but you're fine wherever you feel comfortable. My name is Rabbi Emily Hyatt, and
I am honored but so sad to be here with you today to say goodbye to Judy Stein, who we are not supposed to say goodbye to today. This is, I know, a surprise for all of us and a shock and a tragedy. And we have a big job. And that is that we are here to be with her family, to take care of them. We are here to tell her story, which is a pretty amazing responsibility. And we're here to say goodbye to her physical presence, at least here with us, knowing that her memory and her legacy are not going anywhere. And so as we begin, we have a custom in Jewish tradition that we acknowledge our mourners as we begin this service, and not just acknowledge them, but actually give them a moment to be here, to feel a little grounded in a moment that is not at all grounding. And they are wearing at the moment, Dave and his family are wearing ribbons so that we can begin with a ceremony called Kriya, which means tearing. We used to, back in the day, rend our clothing, literally rip the clothes that we were wearing, because we're physical people. And it hurts to lose someone. And I don't know, maybe it felt good to ruin something. We don't do that so much anymore. Instead, we wear these ribbons that symbolize our status as mourners. And in a moment, we're going to tear them just a little bit. We know that number one, we tear because we're physical people. Number two, we tear because this is a pretty big rip in the fabric of your family and in many of your lives. And we acknowledge just what a big deal that is. And finally, we tear to symbolize the change in status of our mourners, of Judy's family, knowing that it's our job to take care of them, that they had to, when someone dies, there's a lot of details and logistics to take care of. And we hope now they will let us take care of them. And so if you're comfortable, I'm going to have you repeat these words after me. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yihi Shem, Adonai Mevorach. That means God gives and God takes away. Blessed is the name of God. For hearts that are torn, we perform this act of tearing or kriya. So I'm going to invite you guys to tear your ribbon. It's pinned onto you just like a 1/4 of an inch. You don't have to tear any pieces off. Just give it a little rip. They just have a little cut in it. And then we're going to say Baruch, Dayan, Ha'emet. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, judge of truth. And so we move into our service today. There's 3 parts of a Jewish funeral. The first part is that we prepare ourselves. It is hard to do this. We don't want to just jump right in. And so we give ourselves a moment of preparation using poems and psalms and readings. The second thing that we do is we tell the story of a life. We get to tell that story today. And then the third thing that we do is say goodbye to Judy's physical presence here. We will participate in burying her and in making sure that she is in a place of peace as she rests here today. And so I want to share a poem with you as we begin. It's by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. And it says, each lifetime is the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. For some, there are more pieces, and for others, the puzzle is more difficult to assemble. Some seem to be born with a nearly completed puzzle. And so it goes that souls are going this way and that, trying to assemble the myriad parts. But the important thing to know is that no one has within themselves all the pieces to their puzzle. Like before the days when they used to sell jigsaw puzzles wrapped in cellophane, making sure that all of the pieces were there. Everyone carries within them at least one and maybe many pieces to someone else's puzzle. Sometimes they know it and sometimes they don't. And when you present your piece, which is worthless to you, to another, whether you know it or not, whether they know it or not, you are a messenger from on high. And so as we stand here today with this task, I invite you to think of Judy and her life and what puzzle piece she might have given you. If you are here to support someone, imagine what puzzle piece they have for you, knowing that these moments are moments of great grief, but also perhaps of gratitude for those pieces that we have been given. And we turn now to the words of Psalm 23, which is a psalm that we say at so many funerals and so many faiths. You probably know some of the words to this. There's a line in the middle that says, "When I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me." We understand often this psalm to be about a person who has died, that when they die, they walk in the valley of the shadow of death, that that's somehow where they go. And our sages say, perhaps there's another way to understand it, that we are the ones that are in the valley of the shadow of death. And it's pretty appropriate, I think, today that it's a little cloudy and that you can't quite see the sun, because this is a cloudy day. This is a day of shadows where we say goodbye to a woman who gave so much love to the world. The sun will come out again, but I think that today we are walking in that valley. We feel that lack of light. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo achsar bino teshayar biseni. Al mei menuchot yana haleini nafshi yeshoveh. Yancheni b'magalei tzedek lema'an shemo. Gam ki elech begei samavet. Lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shofan neged sorarai. Nishanta b'shemen roshi. Kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni. Kol yemei chayai. V'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yami. God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. God, you lead me in right paths for the sake of your name. And even when I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. And I'll share with you one more psalm, which is Psalm 121. And it's fitting that today is a cloudy day, and that doesn't remove our entire ability to see, and to see light, and to see the beauty of a woman who we already miss so deeply. This psalm has the line in it, I turn my eyes to the mountains, from where will my help come? And for Judy, who lived, I think, most of her life in Denver, and for those of you that are from Denver, you know one of the truths about this place is that even when it's cloudy and you can't see them, you know which way the mountains are. Right? They sort of ground us and root us and give us direction, even when we can't see them. And my blessing for each of you is that Judy should be that for you. Even when you can't see her, you know exactly what she would tell you, or what she would do for you, or what she would say to you. You know where she is and what she would do to help ground you in this moment. Even when you can't see the mountains, you know where they are, and they orient you. So may she be for you your orientation. Shir lama'alot esa einai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot raglecha Al Yanu Shamrecha. Hine lo Yanu velo Yishan Shomer Yisrael. Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yaminecha. Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yatecha V'Yareach Balayla. Adonai Yishmorcha Mikora, Yishmor et Nafshecha. Adonai Yishmor Tzitecha Uvolecha. Ve'ata Ve'ad Olam. A song for ascents. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian, your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. You will be guarded from all harm. Your life will be guarded. God will guard your going and your coming now and forever. And so with that, we turn now to the story of Judy, to telling her story. One of my favorite teachings in Judaism says that if you look around at some of these headstones around you and you find the ones like over there, Mr. Jacob Gendelman, if you look over there, you'll see that on his headstone, the dates of birth and death are actually on the same line. And when that happens, they're separated just by a dash, which is a pretty crazy thing to imagine, that on the day someone was born, on a day some very many years later, a person was taken from us in this world, and the entirety of their life is contained in just that little dash. It holds everything, which on one hand makes us have to remind ourselves to spend time with that dash, to look at it, to see what's in it, because you can get a little bit complacent because it's so small. You might think that its story is small, but it's not. But the other thing to remember is that it's tiny and you can take it with you. That's pocket sized, that dash. And so the whole story and legacy and all of those lessons that Judy has left each of you, those can travel with you. It's all in that tiny little line. You can put that in your pocket as you walk from this place. And so as we begin to tell that story and to understand just what that dash means, I'm going to start by inviting Donovan and Connor and Sage to come up and say a few words.
We would like to share a couple of our favorite memories in honor of her. One of my favorite memories will always be the time I had the opportunity to spend the day with my grandma, going through 2 giant blue bins of old family pictures. We started by organizing the pictures into which family member they went with, then took the pictures out of their frames to mail them to their corresponding family members. While going through them, I had the chance to learn about our family's history. My grandma, of course, knew every single person in the photos and exactly how they were related to us. We enjoyed a good laugh together while she talked about the stories behind some of the pictures, even though I already heard some of them many times before. Many tears were shed that day, some happy, some sad, but it didn't matter. We got to do the most important thing in life, spending time with our loved ones.
There are so many happy times, but one of my favorite memories will always be baking with my grandma last Halloween. We had a blast making treats together and spent time talking about who we wanted to share them with. We had planned to use candy eyeballs, but it turned out she had accidentally bought plain white gumballs instead. I remember making silly faces at my grandma while Greg took many pictures. We were excited to try new pudding cup recipes, but they didn't turn out as we had hoped. Luckily, the cupcakes saved the day, and we had a good laugh about it. Towards the end, we struggled to open a package of sprinkles, and my grandma threatened to return it, just like she always did. We also made a huge mess, but we got on our hands and knees and cleaned it together. These moments may seem small, but they mean the world to me now that she's gone.
My grandmother was such a special person in my life, and I am forever thankful for everything, although I didn't fully appreciate it at the time. I took for granted our special bond, assuming that she would always be there. But now, as I say goodbye, I realize how impactful her love truly was. I always knew that my time with my grandma would eventually come to an end, but I never expected it to be so soon. She made every effort to be a part of my life, whether it was going to brunch at Doug's Day Diner or having lunch dates at Rosie's. She never forgot my favorite things like Swedish fish and French curlers. She would come to every sporting event she could and even visit me when I was working at Coldstone. And although she would tell the same stories over and over again, looking back, I wish I had cherished these moments more. I will always remember the happy memories we shared, like making jokes about her height and the random times she would show up with presents from wherever she had been before. And even if she wasn't physically there, she still made every effort to care for me, like when she let me spend afternoons at her house after 5th grade with my Uncle Evan. She was always willing to make an effort to bond with the few friends of mine she had met. And one thing I never got to tell her was how much I appreciated that she cared for my girlfriend if she was a part of our family. And finally, I wanted to acknowledge just how much she meant to my dad. Not only was she his mother, but she was a mentor and a friend. Her love and guidance shaped him into the amazing father he is today, and for that she will remain in my heart forever.
When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. So look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting go of children that need to be free. Remember, love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. Judy was born March 25th, 1948 in Manhattan, but didn't live there for too long. Her family moved to Denver in the mid-1950s, and she grew up here. She went to George Washington High School just down the street, the University of Colorado, where she got a degree in psychology. And while she was in college, she began what I understand to be a pretty long and rich life of involvement and advocacy. First, in the women's movement, she was a founding member of the National Org for Women in Denver and in Boulder. And after college, she had the opportunity to travel, to go to Europe, to go to Israel, to see the world. And then she got caught up in that movement. She aligned herself with the Democratic Party. She participated. She spoke up and spoke out. And some of that advocacy, one might think, got put a little bit to the side, that perhaps she stepped away from some of it when her kids were born. But I would venture to guess that most of it just changed shape. She, once her kids were grown, got a little bit back involved in that advocacy. But for the whole of it, she was aware of what was going on in the world. She constantly paid attention to politics and to the news and to what was happening in the world. I understand that she was not particularly shy about sharing those beliefs with you, regardless of whether you asked for them or whether you agreed with them. But she cared about the world, about the state of the world, and made that a significant part of who she was and how she saw and walked through the world. Now, in addition to that, when Dave and Evan were born, she tried a couple of different things when she was imagining what would she do professionally. She dabbled a little bit for a few years in her parents' real estate and accounting work. She owned her own business for a short period of time. And all of that changed, but she did not change when Evan was diagnosed. I think what she did at that moment was take all of those skills of learning, of understanding, of asking questions, of caring, and of speaking up about the things that she believed in, and they changed shape a little. They changed, topic. And she became his number one supporter and advocate. She had to learn how to navigate so many systems for him. She had to learn how to navigate the medical system, certainly, and insurance, and all of the craziness that we know goes along with that world. But also, she learned a lot about family advocacy and social emotional learning in the world of learning disabilities. And never one to keep her information or opinions to herself. She began to share her wisdom and what she had learned through her own work and trials with other people. People started coming to her for advice when she began to, I think, understand how to work some of those systems. And so first, I think pretty casually, she began to just share what she knew with people. And then she began to actually work a little bit in those spaces, working with the Human X Academy for kids on the autism spectrum, working with Jewish Family Services and developmental pathways and college living experience, and sharing her gifts and her knowledge. And I think that this truth that she gave her energy in a space of advocacy, of how can we make the world a better place, certainly for all, but also in this world that she didn't maybe want originally to have to know about, but knew so much about. And so she advocated for individuals, those who were navigating these systems that she had already explored, but also she navigated for people she didn't know, for the greater community, for, the systems at large. I heard a couple of stories about causes that she took up, some of them seemingly so minor, but having no idea what kind of impact they had on people. At some point, she moved. And when they moved, and Evan was in a wheelchair, and there was a light pole in the middle of the street. Well, you can't get down the sidewalk in a wheelchair when there's a light pole in the middle of the street. And let me guarantee you, the light pole was moved. If she found something that was not ADA compliant, she would tell you. She would not keep that from you. And it might have been a little exhausting sometimes, but somebody had to do it, and she was not afraid to do it. She fought to make everything more accessible. But what I learned yesterday when I was talking to Dave and his family, and I had the great honor of meeting Judy and learning about her a few years ago when Evan passed away. And I knew her from that experience as a mom and as an advocate, certainly, as I heard the story of her as it related to Evan's life. But what I got to learn yesterday is that these traits of Judy's, this enormous sense of justice and giving and love and caring and compassion, was not just reserved for Evan. It was not just reserved for people with disabilities. She spent all her time giving away her love. And so I learned a lot about her relationship with her grandkids and how much she loved the three of you. How much she loved spending time with you and baking together and going out to eat and coming to all of your events and supporting you and cheering for you. You were her very favorite in the world. And I feel pretty confident that she died knowing just how magnificent the three of you are and what a beautiful legacy she has. She cared quite a bit for the dog, the service dog, Evan's service dog, Coffee, who, of course, even after Evan no longer needed that dog, stayed right with her and became a perhaps retired, non-working member of the family. We know just how much she loved Greg, her partner of about 6 years, knowing that it was probably a pretty big transition for her to find him and to begin to imagine a life with him, sharing that life with him. And unexpectedly, or perhaps exactly as one might have expected, they were a perfect fit for each other. We talked at the beginning of the service about that puzzle piece, that you don't always know exactly what puzzle piece you are missing, and then somebody shows up with it. And he helped her, Greg helped her get through so much. She navigated the loss of Evan with Greg. He had some health concerns in the last few years that she, very qualified to do, helped him to navigate. And they were a perfect fit. They loved the same things. They spent a ton of time traveling, actually just having returned from a trip to New York. They went to the theater. They loved the DCPA. They went to shows and concerts. They went to each other's grandkids' sporting events. Shows just how much, right, people love going to be with you guys, is that Greg, came and watched all of these things also and loved it. And they made a huge effort to combine their families, to introduce them, to give them to each other, to expand that community and network. And we also know that she loved her kids. Certainly we know how much she loved Evan and how hard she worked to not just advocate for him as a person in a particular situation, but as a human as well. I had the opportunity to go back and read through all of my notes from that experience when Evan passed away and to read Judy's words about him. And I remember her talking about him as a little kid. That was so deeply rooted in her memory, who he was and how he evolved and how his strength gave her strength, even as they navigated a challenging reality together. And she loved Dave so much. I particularly love her commitment to talking about you, to telling the stories of your life. And I asked when they were telling me that she would tell these stories over and over again, and I said, do you think she knew that she was telling the stories over and over again? And the unanimous, right, sort of response to that was like, it doesn't matter. Right? Yeah, probably she knew. And hear it again. Listen to my soul telling you this thing about who I am and who my kids are again. And if you're a parent, you know that your kids are just like a piece of your insides walking around outside exposed all the time. And I think for Judy, that was both true and also a source of great pride to be able to watch and see this person that you have turned into, Dave, and to know that you have a beautiful partner, that you have built this beautiful family, and to be able to be a part of that, I imagine must have given her such tremendous joy and pride. My favorite thing about Judy, my very favorite thing in all of this, is her phone. Because what I learned about her phone is that it was a source of all information. And that it turns out, and I don't know that you guys really knew this, it turns out that she was walking through the world every day, and every time she would receive a piece of information about another person, she would put it in her phone. And so as her family was scrolling through her contacts after they received her phone when she died, what they found was that in some of your contacts, it had like your favorite donut flavor, or it had an important date, or your favorite kind of candy. She collected that information. Her calendar is full of important experiences in other people's lives. When were you going to see this doctor? When was this important moment that you were going to experience, so that she would remember to check in with you, or to take you, or to be there with you, whatever it might have been. And she would give herself, she would calendar in reminders to text people, to be in touch with them, to keep relationships alive. She also, I think, played like a lot of Yahtzee and Words with Friends and like other apps, Sudoku on her phone, but I think that both of those are pretty worthwhile uses. And even at the end of our time together, I said, you guys know her Hebrew name, because in Jewish tradition, that's an important part of burial. And they said, yeah, hold on, she had it saved in a note in her phone. And then they had it, and now we have it because she filed it. So we started with this poem. We started with this idea. When I die, give what's left of me away. What a perfect way to understand a woman who actually didn't wait to die to do that. She had, I think, infinite love. There was no limit to what she had to give, which is a gift. And she did not wait to give it when she had time or when she felt like it was convenient. I think that was who she was. To share with you her ideas, to share with you what she thought was important, and to share with you her enormous and tremendous love. And so as we think about her dash, about that story of who Judy was and is and continues to be, I hope that you will take all of those lessons and that legacy and her pretty incredible capacity for giving, and you will in turn and give it. That's how we honor people's legacies and memories, is that we embody the pieces and the parts of them that were so important to us. Our poem said, love doesn't die. People do. And as we prepare for the work of saying goodbye to Judy, her person, but not her identity, we know that that part of her is not dead. It will not get there if you continue to pass her along and to give to others the way that she was able to give to each of you. Adonai Natan, Adonai Laka, Shem Adonai Mevorah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher yatzar etchem betuvo, v'hemit etchem b'adin, v'nata betofechem chayei olam. Baruch atah Adonai Dayan ha'emet, atah gibor le'olam Adonai Rav lehoshia, mechal kel chaim b'chesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech olim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, nichamocha ba'al gvurot umido melach, melech meimid umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua, Baruch atah Adonai, notea b'tocheinu chaye olam. Dayan ha'emet, shofet tzedek ve'emet. Baruch Dayan ha'emet, ki kol mishpatav tzedek ve'emet. Nefesh kol chai b'yadecha, tzedek mal'a yamincha b'yadecha. Rachem al pleitatzon yadecha, v'tomar l'malach cheret yadecha. Gadol ha'etza v'rav ha'alilia, asher einecha pekuchot al kol derechai, b'nei adam. Latit la'ish ki drasav, v'sifri ma'alala. Lehagid ki ashar Adonai, suri v'lo avla tabo. Adonai natan v'Adonai laka, Yehi shem Adonai mevorach. Vehu rachum michaper avon v'lo yashchit, Vehir ba lehashiv apo, v'lo ya'ir kol pamato. Adonai natan, Adonai laka, Yehi shem Adonai mevorach. We have an opportunity now to participate in a Jewish ritual that I think is one of the most beautiful things and one of the hardest things that we do in our lives. And that is that it is our custom that we help to bury our loved ones by placing the earth back into the grave after they have been laid to rest there. And there's a couple of reasons why we do this. The first is because it's something that someone can't say thank you for. And so we know that we are doing one last act of kindness for a person who has died that is just purely for them. It's not at all for us. We get no recognition from it. But the other reason why we participate in this tradition is because it helps us maybe to know that we have physically, with our own selves, helped to make sure that our loved one is at peace and at rest and in this place. And though I didn't ask you this, I feel pretty confident imagining that Judy tucked a lot of people into bed a lot of times in her days, right? That's the thing a grandma does and a mom. And when we tuck a kid into bed, we make sure that they have all the things that they need, right? Are they safe? Are they warm? Are they cozy? Do they have all of the pieces that they need to be at peace for the night? And we get to do that today for her, to tuck her into this final resting place, to make sure that she is here in this place and that we have participated ourselves in tucking her in. Because there are a lot of us, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna invite her family in just a moment, and those that would sort of identify themselves as the closest to her, I don't know who those people are, what a crazy thing to say, to take a little dirt and to place it in the grave. There's a shovel there if you need it. I actually kind of recommend, because there's not so much dirt, that you just take a little handful, but certainly you can use the shovel. Make sure there's enough for everyone. And we will continue this after we complete the funeral, but I don't want to make her family stay here for too long. This is a hard experience. So I'm going to invite you to come up to place some dirt into the grave. And then if you feel like it's appropriate for you to participate after the ceremony, I invite you to please don't forget to come and do that. Thank you for the kiss.
Anybody else who wants at this moment? I think we're doing pretty good. So if anybody else wants to participate, please feel free.
Congratulations. I know.
We rise and remain standing as we can for our memorial prayer. God, hold her close to you forever.